And if so, where does he need to improve to get back to where he was 12 months ago?
Yeah, it's not quite as dominant, I would say. But just seems to be a few guys now that understand the patterns of play that are needed to beat him and are able to execute it. Just not for long periods of time. Ferre's come close, Gulbis has come close. Of course, Novak beat him a little earlier on. I think his serve has just got to get a little better. He's certainly playing some of the best clay court tennis this week that I've seen this whole clay court season from him, including the South American swing. And I think the return of serve, for me, the guys who have hurt him because of that shot. He's dropping returns too short, and it's allowed guys like Gulbis and Novak and Ferre to go on the attack early on.
Gulbis especially was fantastic at that, wasn't he? Anything off the backhand that dropped short, he would just step in, take that ball on, and the speed cop forehand too worked really well for him until it got a little tight in that deciding set. So that's going to be important, because Berdych too can generate some decent pace from the back of the court, can't he?
He certainly can, and he's one of those guys who can take the ball on the rise as well, and that's key. But you've got to be able to do that if you want to hurt this guy. But of course, the problem is he's been drummed by him. He's lost 12 in a row now against Nadal as Berdych, so it's always going to be difficult. There's that demons that circulate in the head when you do get close to beating somebody. I think that's always going to prove a problem.
Yeah, he started well, didn't he, against Nadal. Won 3 of their first 4 meetings back in 2005 and 2006. But it's all been Nadal of late. But of course, it was a similar scenario when he played Djokovic. Good record against Berdych. So again, take some confidence from that. Does have the ability to turn it around.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking for a silver lining when we're talking about head-to-head, that's what you've got to think about. Yesterday, he was able to come back from the dead, and it gives you a lot of confidence when you pull matches like that out of the bag. So he'll come into this one feeling confident as probably what he's felt for a long time in his career. And the belief will be big. I think as a tennis player, we always try and rationale a way to beat the person on the other side of the net. Well, I think this guy will be thinking, if Novak can beat him, why can't I beat Novak yesterday?
Krupa's done a good job, hasn't he? Because it was 2-3 years ago that we were saying Berdych's a great shot maker. He's not a great match player, and things don't quite go according to plan. He fades in matches like you can't believe. And now we're discussing how great a comeback it was yesterday against the world #1. So he's improved in that regard no end, hasn't he?
He certainly has, and his fitness trainer as well has done a good job. I think he is a big influence in the team. He's not here this week. Esther is ever present. And we saw them having a little bite to eat earlier on today. And we were getting some lunch. I was going with a big bowl of pasta, was Thomas.
That's probably a good thing when you're taking on Nadal on clay, isn't it?
Yeah, lots of it. You need to have plenty of reserves.
You really do. What about Nadal? Is he playing better this week than last week in Madrid?
I think so. I think he is, and he's been well tested, come through that. Again, that'll give him a lot of confidence. It will be interesting to know if deep down whether he would have wanted to play Novak one more time before the French Open or not. We'll discuss that as this match goes on.
It's a lovely afternoon now in Rome for the first of our semi-finals. Both players have worked exceptionally hard to make it through to the semi-finals. Both will feel that they're playing well enough to make it through to Sunday's showpiece final. Nadal, of course, has an excellent record of late against the 6th seed from the Czech Republic. But of course, twice this week he's been taking the distance. But of course, he's found a way to win. Such a good competitor. But Berdych, I'm sure, off the back of his victory against Novak Djokovic, will feel that if he's able to bring his A game to the court this afternoon, he's in with a fighting chance.
Prima partita al servizio Thomas Berdych. Ready? Play. Grazie. 15-0. 15 love.
Will there be any
15 pari.
changing of Nadal's game plan, given that he's playing against Berdych and he has a weaker forehand, or is he still just going to hit the vast majority of his shots to the backhand, despite that being a little stronger technically?
Definitely won't change his game plan, Jason. He will know that he's got the formula against this guy and will back himself. It's an interesting discussion as well. Because, obviously he's come close to losing to guys like Ferrer and Gulbis. Especially Gulbis has troubled him of late. And Novak, of course, has had a fair bit of success against him. It will be interesting if things got tricky. Let's say deep in a French Open, if he was down, whether he would even consider changing his game plan, because generally he doesn't. He backs himself to the nth degree, and with his record you can understand where he comes from.
Almost 96% of matches have been won since 2005 on this surface. Better numbers than anybody has ever posted in the history of our game. He's got an opportunity to start well here this afternoon. 2 break points. Beautifully done. What a terrific start, striking the ball beautifully. Giving his fans plenty to cheer, despite the match only being a couple of minutes old. And that will be a bit of a blow for Berdych. You always like to start well against higher ranked opposition. Of course, I did Nadal a little bit of a disservice earlier, suggesting that he'd won his 22nd Masters Series 1000 title in Madrid last week. Of course, it was his 23rd. My apologies, Rafa. To work hard for it. Hasn't had that good a record in Madrid. I think he likes the conditions here in Rome a little better. Certainly results down the years have been much better in this city compared to Madrid. 6-time champion. Problems already for Berdych. A little bit of tape on the fingers. Hit a lot of balls yesterday. Different conditions throughout the week. Some sun initially, some wet weather, heavy conditions. Today pretty decent. Sun's out. It's drying all the time. Don't have that nasty breeze to have to contend with like they did yesterday and the day before. Just missed it. Nice and aggressive from Nadal. That's the one thing, Robbie, that I picked up on when he was talking about what he wanted to improve this week compared to the last. He said he wanted to be a little further up the court, try and take the ball on a little more regularly, be a little more aggressive. Hasn't always had the opportunity to do that this week against the likes of Gulbis. Started brightly in that regard this afternoon.
Whole family's in town. We saw sister, girlfriend, mum and dad here as well this week. Plenty to do apart from the tennis. That's what I love about this city.
How's your sightseeing gone this week?
My sightseeing?
Yes.
It's tough when you're working till 1 o'clock in the morning, Jason.
Exactly.
Got to be back here at 10:30, 11 o'clock.
They seem to get on pretty well, don't they? They've been sat together throughout the course of the week.
Joko. Nadal. Nadal conduce 2-0, 2 games to love. Grazie.
It's an excellent start when you get an early break up. If you can consolidate your position, holding, it's additional pressure on your opponent.
Grazie.
Of course, so we know he's up against it today. It's Berdych against this guy. You talk about impressive records. One of Nadal's most impressive records on a clay court. He's won 46 straight semi-final matches on this surface. That is just unbelievable. He's 46-1, incidentally. So of course, so that tells you the only one he's lost was the first one he was involved in.
He's giving Berdych the runaround now, dominating the points of the baseline. This is hard work. Berdych, of course, will have woken up a little stiff this morning, given all the tennis he had to play yesterday. And this is the last thing you need. Remember, he hasn't beaten Nadal since 2006.
Let primo servizio.
He's had a pretty decent season, though, in terms of consistency. Finalist in Marseille and Dubai. He beat Federer there, didn't he, before losing to Djokovic. Semi-finalist in Indian Wells and Madrid. Quarter-finalist at the Australian Open. It's always nice if you can win a tournament at some stage. Of course, Federer hasn't made a final yet. First time since 1999 that Federer hasn't reached a final by May in any season.
15.
He's been struggling this year. Of course, he's taken a bit of time off. A bit rusty last week, playing better this week, though. And of course, he goes into that second semi-final as the heavy favourite against Benoit Paire. It's good length. Doesn't matter how good you are, when you're forced to half volley ball on a clay court,
30.
especially if you're having to back off the shot as well. Very little chance of timing that well on a regular basis. tennis, turning defence into attack. After Nadal had dominated the early exchanges within the rally. And that will do the confidence, the power of goods. Nadal low, break to the good, 2-1.
Conduce 2-1, 2 games to 1.
Just tell the ball boys that they are very slow.
I know. I wanted to tell you. You know, I realized one point. It was the long. You make it exact. I will tell them to be quick.
From the beginning.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm waiting for the ball, standing there for 15 seconds,
yeah, no,
and then they just don't even give it to the other guy.
It was only the first point. You came a little bit late due to that. I know. So I want to let you know. I will tell them to be quicker. Dice, match quickly control. Asciugamani rápido. Habla con él. The balls are too late.
Interesting, Berdych just having a word with the umpire there at the change of ends, asking him to have a word with the ball kids, to ask them to get a little more organised and to be a little quicker between points. And of course you might wonder, well, what does that matter? Well, the umpire, we were having lunch with Mohammed today, and he said he's been on to the
ball kids. Here is that the players can only take 25 seconds between points, and it's important in order for that to happen. There's an element of teamwork involved, isn't there, Robbie?
Yeah, I thought it was 30 seconds though in Rome, given that it's the Italians. Things don't happen rapidly here, folks.
And of course, Mohammed was saying that he does take that into consideration. He's got one eye on the clock, another eye on the ball kids, whether the players have the balls in time, the towels, and the conditions, noise from the crowd, a lot to consider. Of course, yesterday, Robbie, Nadal got a time violation, didn't he? Set point down in the second set against Ferrer, lost the use of his first serve on that point.
It's the first time I've seen it happen. Of course, he has had problems, probably more time violations than most. Mohamed Al Jannati was the umpire in the chair on that occasion.
At that change of ends as well, it was really interesting because Nadal got his Christmas card list off, crossed it right off.
So they're right on the money, maximising the time between points.
Really working the ball around very nicely this afternoon. I'm loving the court position, nice and aggressive, right on top of the baseline, taking the ball early and moving his opponent from side to side. That's how the Spaniards like to play, isn't it?
Exactly, and I think it helps that he's had 2 matches back-to-back where guys have given him such a hard time. And I think it makes you a better player. He's had to use that forehand up the line a little bit. For me, that's always a barometer as to how well he's hitting the ball, and he's come out early doors here. He's hit that shot particularly well. Berdych hasn't been as effective as Gulbis and Ferrer from the backhand corner, so I think today things feel really easy for Nadal, given what's taken place the last 2 days.
Yet to drop a point in his opening couple of service games. Very bright start.
I don't mind that play, even though he's ended up missing that volley.
It's quite a difficult volley, Robbie, to be aggressive on, isn't it? Because the ball's coming into his body all the time.
Yep.
Nadal dominating the longer exchanges, as you would imagine. Oh, yes. Wonderful feel.
Movement on a clay court is just sublime. Timing of the slide. Yesterday, watching him and Ferrer in action was just so easy on the eye. They cover so much court so easily. It's almost impossible for either player to hit a winner. Had to finish off the point by coming in.
It's interesting, we were watching, was it the 2006 final here? Before we came live on air, just on the computer, on the YouTube, and Federer and Nadal, that classic. Federer came in a lot that day, didn't he? Almost got it done.
Almost. Had a couple of match points there. I guess 6-5, 15-40 up on a dull serve.
Oh, yes. Of course, that was back in the day when they used to play best of 5-set finals here.
Right.
Both that final and the one the following year, lasting over 5 hours. Nadal getting the job done against Federer, and then Coria, back-to-back wins. Superb footwork, so good at hitting that backhand with the open stance. Him and Djokovic, the best at that shot by a country mile. And 2 more break points here for the Spaniard. Of course, they've had some fabulous champions down the years at this particular event, but Nadal's won it more than any other. Hasn't put a foot wrong yet. Superb start from Nadal. Dominating the proceedings from the back of the court. A double break up now. 4-1's the lead.
Where? Take the towel. Towel. Asciugamani and
He's able to generate so much power from so deep in the court as Rafa. Well, Jason, was it?
Time.
Just talking about how well Nadal has been spreading the court, and it's been phenomenal so far. Very few balls have been up the middle of the court. There it is there. You can see the red balls, of course, are the winners, and the vast majority of those are forehands, which would mean he's hitting the forehand up the line well. And as I suggested, if he starts executing on that shot, you're in big trouble, because we know how good the hook forehand cross court is. So average speed as well, 124 kilometers an hour. So he's hitting it hard, deep, spreading the court, hitting the forehand up the line well. Could be a tough day at the office for Berdych.
Per favore. Telefono.
And what I like, Robbie, about what you just explained there are many of the winners are at the end of a rally whereby he's just outmaneuvered his opponent. They're not Gulbis-like winners, where they're hit hard and flat, exceptionally hard and exceptionally flat, very close to the lines. He's just worked the point so well and gradually improved his position within it until the winner has happened. So it's a high percentage tennis. It's still very, very high quality, but for Nadal, high percentage. Can't go wrong with that combo. So what do you do if you're Berdych and Nadal's playing this well? What's the change-up for him? Is there one?
You know, you've got to go for broke. I think you've got to start trying to play Gulbis-like tennis, where you get any looks at shots, you got to take them on. I'd like to see him come in as much as possible. The backhand down the line has to work. Got to try that shot, take it on the rise. Of course, it's only effective though once you've opened up the court with either an inside-out forehand or a backhand cross-court from Thomas.
He tried to come in a little more frequently in the last game, didn't he? But he's 0 for 5 so far.
And I know that sounds bad, but for me, he's got no chance winning from the back of the court. So you've got to just try to keep coming in, even though it is a struggle at the moment.
Of course, Berdych loves to dominate, hates defending, but that's all he's done this afternoon in the opening 5 games, and he's having absolutely no success whatsoever in these baseline points. Nadal's won 16 of the 19 that they've contested so far. So that's why you're suggesting, Robbie, he's got to do something a little different. No point in sticking with a losing formula, even if it means you've got to take yourself way out of your comfort zone.
As you suggested, didn't have to hit that one awfully close to the line. Once again, he's just outmaneuvered Berdych. It's been an almost faultless performance so far from Rafa. 8 winners, just 1 unforced error.
It's a nice ratio. Nadal just wants a slightly closer look at that one, just to be sure. And they sweep the mark away like that. Admitting that the ball was good. Good serve, that. Oh, amazing return.
Things are only getting better. Remember, we were saying that's an area of his game that we thought he needed a little bit of improvement on.
30-15.
How good is that?
And I love the backhand because he hits it relatively flat. The forehand, of course, has so much topspin on it. The combination of those 2 shots makes it so difficult for opponents. Deal with the high bounce off the topspin, and then the ball shooting through off the flatter backhand.
It's a pattern a player like.
40,
Try and make this guy pass you off that backhand on the full stretch. Look, he is going to hit plenty of passing shots, but just got to try and pressurize him as much as you can. Get that approach nice and deep, as Berdych did there.
Joko. Berdych.
Better service game now.
Your balls, please.
Nadal still very much holds the upper hand. 5-2.
Thomas, trainer. It's too tight here. Now.
It's one thing that is not pretty on a tennis player, and that's their feet. Oof.
I'll tell you what.
I hear a lot of the beauty salons charge double for pedicures when they hear that the customers are tennis players.
Minimum. Strapping's always difficult to get absolutely right. If you get it a little too loose, you don't feel secure enough, especially with the ankles. But if you get a little too tight, then your toes start going numb. And of course, then you start to lose feel when you're moving. It's so important for someone like Nadal, especially on a clay court. So often you'll get your ankles taped, and then you'll have to have a little readjustment during the match. But it's better to have no strapping than for it to be too tight. No problems with the movement at all so far. We're opening 7 games of this one. Serving for the opening set. Again, superb all-court tennis from the Spaniard.
So quick to move up the court. Again, spreading the court beautifully. There's the danger shot before and up the line. And that one's bouncing near the middle of the court, yet it's still a winner. When you talk about percentages, nobody plays them better than this guy on this surface.
It's long here. Just mistrap.
Great footwork. So important when the ball's coming over the net a little lower. Move up the court.
40-0.
Brushing up the back of the ball beautifully.
40 love.
Timing has been absolutely perfect in this opening set. Dominated the match so far. 3 set points.
Gioco, prima partita.
Can't argue with
Nadal.
that. Outstanding serving.
6-2.
Superb tennis from the back of the court. Wraps up the opening sets in a little over half an hour. 6-2.
Oh, what an opening set from Nadal. We suggested that with each and every passing match he was playing better, and today is a perfect example of that. He's been tested severely in his last 2 matches. But Berdych, no test at all so far. In fact, Nadal has lost just 1 point behind his serve. In fact, that was on a first serve. Faultless tennis, winners to unforced errors ratio. Superb, came in beautifully, and when he got a break point, he was able to convert on them. Berdych really is struggling for games at the moment. Very difficult to see a way out of this one for him.
Strapping off his ankle earlier.
Play Slackman, ATP physio.
Just having a bit of tape on his fingers on this occasion. Of course, when you play a lot of tennis, he always does on the clay, you are going to have these little niggles, aches and pains, things that need taken care of on a daily basis, especially on his hand. So many balls on a daily basis. He's going to get hard skin, he's going to get blisters.
Al servizio,
You have to take care of those.
Favore, grazie. Zero, 30 love.
Risky shot from that position, but as Robbie was mentioning earlier, perhaps this afternoon he feels he's going to have to take a few risks. It's as simple as that.
Berdych.
It's a nice start.
He's going to have to do a lot of things better in this set, and perhaps starting with trying to find Nadal's backhand a little more often, because Nadal at the moment is being allowed to hit so many forehands. Almost 80% of the shots are coming off that forehand wing, and of course we know how good he is at dominating with that particular shot. Gets to 2 or 3 of those in a row, the rally's pretty much done, and he's hitting it particularly well today. Of the 11 winners that he has hit, 7 have come off the forehand. And of course, we highlighted a little earlier how well he's spreading that forehand, going down the line so accurately, and using it in tandem with Old Faithful, the hook cross court.
Down 0, 13 down.
You need a bit of luck against the best in the world.
It always helps.
He got it a little bit yesterday, didn't he? Made the most of it. Needs a whole heap more today.
It's a third unforced error in this second set from Nadal. Remember, he only made 3 unforced errors throughout the entire duration of set number 1. First chance in the match for Berdych.
It's a shot that needs to work well.
Parità, use.
Got to be fully committed to it. You know it's a risk. It's worth taking on a big point. And the stakes are high, and your opponent's playing as well as Nadal is this afternoon.
Vantaggio Nadal. Gioco Nadal.
It's an excellent response from breakpoint down. Berdych would love a do-over on that backhand down the line.
One game on.
Yeah, was so key in his battle yesterday with Ferrer. He saved every break point in the first set and every break point in the third set. The moment Ferrer was able to convert, that's of course when he was able to make some good inroads. Does play the big points exceptionally well. He's finished in the top 4 of the ATP Emirates rankings past 8 years. Also top 2 from 2005 all the way to 2011.
A little disgruntled with the top 4 at the start there, isn't he, Nadal? Nicely done. Of course, it's the 5th seed this week, but if he goes on to win the tournament, having beaten Ferrer in the quarterfinals, he'll move back up to number 4.
15
The new rankings are produced on Monday.
with this.
That's how big the ball looks to Nadal right now.
That's one way of trying to get a little autograph on there, isn't it? Well, to maintain the concentration there.
And 40 love.
Effectiveness of the first serve has been much better. And the early stages of the second set, it's won every point when the first serve has gone in.
He's definitely playing a little better, a little more aggressive. He's not defending as often as he did initially.
14-15. Stop. Ja, ist auch 10.
A little bit of space between the ball mark and the line. This helps the officials. A couple of good holes from Berdych. 2-1 now.
Berdych conduce 2-1, 2 games to 1.
There he is, Nicola Pietrangeli. Here's Leia. Very trendy in this neck of the woods. Everybody dresses so well here. It's such an occasion coming to this particular event. Have it there in VIP Village.
Berdych 0, 15 love.
Got to love the footwork. Give himself enough room to be able to hit that forehand aggressively. Spacing around a ball, absolutely perfect.
Renta 0, 30 love.
So quick to step up the court. Said that's something he wanted to work on. Try and be a little bit more aggressive. Didn't wait for that one to come to him. Double digit as far as the forehand winners are concerned. That one lassoed beautifully.
Nadal. 2 pari, 2 games all.
Well, of course, when your opponent does start to play a little better, you need to respond in kind by taking care of business on your own deal. Nadal's done just that, so I'm sure they'll be pretty delighted. Those that have come to support him, nearest and dearest, 2 apiece. Got to give that one a little more got to use the right flight path. Give yourself a good 3 or 4 feet over the net. Always frustrating when you don't clear the first obstacle.
unusual that he doesn't make the attacking player hit at least 1 or 2 volleys. Again, talking about the flight path. Normally so good at that. You rarely see Nadal missing the net. Hasn't really had the chance to get animated in this match, has Esther.
Ready and waiting, wasn't he? So again, it's a surprise that Nadal's missed that one. Made the adjustment though. Last one in the net, this one long. That's what you always like to see as a coach. Don't make the same mistake twice in a row.
Berdych.
Well, the second set a lot more competitive than the first. So Berdych still in with a chance. Leads 3-2 now.
Allez Thomas, allez. Ouais, Raphaël.
Can we get the pink one, please?
Time.
Jason Goodall alongside Robbie Koenig. Day 6 of our live coverage here in Rome. Semi-final action. First of 2 matches that we've got for you today. A little later on, Benoit Paire playing in his very first Masters Series 1000 semi-final up against the 2nd seed, Roger Federer. He's aiming to make it through to his first final of the season. Here, though, Nadal taking the opening set comfortably, playing some really good tennis. Nice and aggressive throughout the course of it. Wrapped it up 6 games to 2. Berdych playing a little more aggressively in the second set, serving a little better and holding as a result. So no breaks of serve as yet. Nadal, 2-3.
Quindi 0, 15 love. Trenta 0, 30 love.
Beautifully done. Again, the footwork fabulous there. Got to make the decision early that you're going to run around the ball. Always a little easier to do off that defensive shot that just floats a little more than one that's hit hard or with topspin. Gave Nadal a time. The spacing again around the ball was superb, so he can hit aggressively that final forehand. And more of the same there. Lovely combination. Pattern of play that served him well down the years. And very quickly he's back on level terms. 3 apiece now.
box.
It's a beautiful inside-out forehand shot that Ferrer used so effectively yesterday in order to try and outmaneuver his Spanish opponent.
That was one of those returns that just dropped a little short, wasn't it? We talked about that at the beginning of the match. It was happening fairly frequently when Nadal lost a bit of confidence.
See, that's a perfect example. You've got to make the most of those situations. Again, dropping it horribly short, that one. Just inviting Berdych forward.
And there's a shot that he does lose when he takes a bit of time away from the game, or when he loses a bit of confidence, or when he's sidelined with an injury. It takes him a while to get the feel back on the return. He stands so far back, it is easy for him to drop it short. Of course, that means an opponent will take the ball nice and early, as Berdych did there, make good use of the open court. So Nadal needed to get a bit more height, a bit more depth, make that shot a little tougher for his opponents.
Pari, 30-all. Quaranta, 30, 40, 30. Berdych. They can't use.
Oh, I think it's just got a piece of the line.
Well, we did say earlier, you need a bit of luck when you're up against the best. And
Linea,
very
yes,
nicely,
yeah.
I think.
Med.
Especially at deuce.
I've got to watch this carefully, because when it lands so softly that sometimes it doesn't leave a definitive mark.
Umpire was all over it, though. A good match so far, Mohammed.
Grazie, grazie. Gioco Berdych.
A lot more effective on serve. in this second set, Berdych.
Berdych conduce 4-3, 4 games to 3.
As a result, now has a slender lead, 4-3.
Det är okej, det är bra. Man vill rapa till, men det ska inte göra.
Time. Seduti rapidamente, grazie. E 15-0, 15.
It's good length. Wasn't a bad return either from Berdych. Nice and deep. But the important thing there was Nadal not giving up any ground. To go on nice and early. He's defended that second serve incredibly well so far.
Did throw you a little curveball though on that second set stat there, didn't they? It's only had the one to defend so far. First serve percentage nice and high. He's made 17 of 18 so far. Good anticipation. Read the fact that Nadal was going to put a bit of slice on that smash. And of course, he's got the double-hander, so the extra hand gives him a bit of control on that shot.
30-15.
And it was always going to be a struggle for the Spaniard to stay in the rally. Again, Berdych had anticipated well and was moving that way, so perhaps out of corner of his eye, Nadal saw that and perhaps just attempted to do a little too much with that final shot.
Yeah, something we see so often from Nadal's opponents. They make those kind of mistakes because of how well this guy covers the court.
Big point, this. Nice change up on the serve going into the body.
40-30, 40-30.
Didn't hold back on the first shot of the rally either, did he? Fully committed. It's a half chance, no question about it.
Alle 9 per favore, new balls please.
Change of bat for the Spaniard. Just fancies a little bit of additional control in this game. Freshly strung racket will give you that. Similar scenario for Berdych as well. Of course, it's very much the norm this day and age, but it wasn't always the case.
Of course, also those poly strings that a lot of the players use these days do break a little easier. The last thing you want is to break a string at this stage in a match. The tail end of a set can prove so costly. And of course, pros want to eliminate any of that. They want to keep everything within their control.
Most will change rackets with the introduction of the new balls because they travel through the edge a little bit quicker. I think Nadal was the first player to start doing that.
Yeah, he was. Just speaking of that very sort of incident, of course, down match point against Nadal. Kulbis broke a string. Fortunately, he was serving and volleying, so it didn't affect him too much. But, you know, literally it can cost you the match.
It's not like back in the day, is it? We were looking to get a good month's worth out of a restring. Slightly lower level, obviously. We're working on a budget, really tight one.
We always invest heavily in the string savers as well. Put those in.
Even when using Kevlar.
Stuff was like rope, wasn't it? Pro blend back in the day. Didn't matter that your arm almost fell off as long as the strings lasted.
Throbbing just thinking about it. Now a real chance here for Nadal. Love 30 and a look at a second serve. Oh, it's brilliant. Superb court position initially in the rally. So nice and aggressive, and then wonderful use of the drop shot to draw Berdych off the baseline and open up the court.
Shot selection's outstanding. He's played that drop shot from right on the baseline. And of course, as you suggested, it's so important what you do, what position you take up after you've played the drop shot. Nadal loved that one.
3 break points. Superb stuff from Nadal. Using the forehand wonderfully well. Really aggressive. Making good use of his first break point there. Now leads by 4, second set. It's all about timing your push to perfection towards the end of sets. The best players in the world, the greatest competitors understand that that's the right time to put their opponents under a little more pressure. Which is exactly what Nadal was able to do in that last game. He's played a superb match so far, started so aggressively. He weren't with us earlier. The first set was some of the best tennis he's played this season. Wrapped it up 6 games to 2 in 31 minutes. The court position was outstanding, taking everything on or inside the baseline. Footwork was superb. Posted really good numbers on serve too. No chance at all for Berdych. The 6th seed has competed better in this second set, served more effectively, so it's been closer. He hasn't played well enough yet to put Nadal under an awful lot of pressure. The Spaniard now serving for a place in Sunday's showpiece final.
What a first point from Berdych. He thought Nadal had done enough. Again, so good at turning defense into attack, but that was a moment of magic. So nice to get that first point in such an important game.
Just wanted confirmation from the umpire. I don't think there's any doubt there, though. It's relatively cheap. Having worked so hard to win the first point of the game, needed to do a little more there.
Once again, the patterns of play and the pressure remain exactly the same. No deviating from the plan.
That's so important, isn't it? It's so easy to panic and think you have to do something a little different, a little better to win the big points. It's exactly the opposite most of the time. Well, Berdych needed to play lights out really today. Just under any chance at all of repeating the victory that he enjoyed yesterday against world #1 top seed Novak Djokovic. Wasn't able to do so in the opening set. Although he's played better here in the second, it hasn't been good enough. An outstanding performance from the Spaniard, who now has 2 match points. Much easier day at the office for Nadal this afternoon. Berdych brushed aside in straight sets. No more heroics for the 6th seed. It's Spain's Rafael Nadal who's safely through to Sunday's final after his best performance of the week. Striking the ball quite superbly throughout. A winner in straight sets, 6-2, 6-4.
Right on the money. 47 straight win on this particular surface in a semi-final. It is astounding. And It'll be an 8th final here in Rome for him tomorrow. Didn't put a foot wrong right out of the blocks. The game plan was executed to perfection. It's been a good week for Berdych, and yesterday's win was probably one of the best of his career. To come back from such a great deficit to overcome the world #1 is a real feather in his cap. Once again, Nadal just a little too good. The serve was much better. He said that needed to improve. They're certainly returning as well. Was able to get a little bit more depth on it. Wasn't dropping as many short. Did a good job of coming in. Defended the second serve well. And just peaking nicely, Jason, as the French Open is not too far away now.
No question about that. Playing a little better this week than he did last. The conditions, I think, suit his game a little better here, perhaps. But that was the key for me. I mean, the one thing you have to do when you play against Nadal is take that second serve on, don't you? You have to try and find a way of putting him under pressure. Berdych simply was unable to do that today. Nadal won all 10 points in the match when he missed his first serve. Only gave Berdych a couple of looks in the second set, so very high percentage of first serves finding their mark, 26 of 28. So that just shows you how well he was able to play well within himself in one sense, but in another, able to put Berdych under so much pressure, particularly at the start of the match.
Yeah, and once he got his nose out in front, he's very difficult to rein in, especially when he gains confidence. The forehand up the line was working superbly well, of course, in tandem with the cross court. He just forces you to cover too much courts, and Berdych wasn't up to the challenge today. And of course, it's a 13th consecutive loss to Nadal now for Berdych. And